Hi, I'm Cindy from BeDownswear.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a crop top and a pair of briefs from a leotard. It's a great thing when you've outgrown that leotard and it's just a little too short. You can turn it into two pieces. You just need some simple sewing skills, some elastic, a leotard, and a sewing machine, and it's really easy. So for this project, you'll need a leotard. You will need something to measure with. You're going to need elastic, something to mark with, some pins, and some scissors. You'll also need a sewing machine, but that'll be the next step. So in this step, I have put this on the girl already. We have pinned where we want it to end. Now, something you'll want to think about when you do that, if they lift their arms up, will it pull up too far? Make sure and give yourself a little extra room, which I did. I gave myself approximately an inch. Her bust, under her bust was to about here. Now, with that being said, we don't cut on this spot. We're going to go ahead and cut 1 inch down for our elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it an inch down. This works really well when girls have grown taller for their leotards. Okay, so the way I find this best works is if you put these sides together. Make sure it all matches up. And if it does, then go ahead and mark that other side. Mark the front and the back, because then you'll want to put everything together. Make sure it matches up. I prefer to pin both sides, so that way it doesn't move around and you don't have to worry about it. And then both sides of this. Now, for the front, it's really important that that all matches up too. So I will take the top pieces, put them together, and pin them. And you want to make sure this doesn't dip down. You want to make sure that it's nice and flat. And then I'll pin both sides of that also. That way no piece moves. Make sure this all lines up. That's the critical part, making sure everything's lined up. Take a few extra minutes, it's okay. So now, we're going to lay this flat. I'm going to go ahead and put this yardstick right across here. I'm going to make sure everything, where did that line go? Oh, there is not one on there. That's why I'm not seeing it. So there we go. Line it up. If you're not sure, err in the side of a little extra fabric if you're not sure, if you think it might be a little off. And then mark that line. And then let's just go ahead and cut it. There we go. Now we have the top and the bottom. And let's take a look at it. Let's see where we're at with that. So if we lay this flat, now, these briefs are high-waisted, so you'll want to decide how high, how tall do you want it, but remember an inch will come off. This is exactly where I want it, but if you wanted to cut down, just mark it even and cut straight down. Remember that this space is the same as this space when you do that. So now we need to do the elastic, and here's the top. So you want to make sure, lay it flat, make sure the back doesn't pop out or the front doesn't pop out when you match up the seams. You want, on the briefs, you want the back a little higher. On the top, you want the back a little underneath. So now, we want this to fit snug. It fits her body perfectly this way. We want it to stay up, but we don't want too much, it to be too tight so it cinches in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the elastic, I'm going to go in about an inch, and I'm going to fold it here, and then know that that'll give me 2 inches extra, because what we're going to do then is I will pin this together, because this will be sewed together and it'll fit in like this. So let's pin this, crossing over a little in the back. Now I'm going to fold this in half to make sure we have it even, front seam and back seam. I'm going to fold this in half, put the seams together. That way we know where the exact front piece is. You can mark it if you like, but you'll want to pin that elastic right there. And there. Now, I'm going to take this and stretch it. I'm going to walk my fingers in, holding this one into place. Because you don't want one side gathered up more than the other. You want to make sure it's even when that elastic is pulled. Holding it into place. So we have that right there. Will be our brief. Now we're going to do the same with the top. You want to make sure the top stays snug. So as long as it fit across here, you're good. So I'm going to go ahead and go about an inch in, cross over. Make sure it's all flat. You don't want it bunched up behind. And it's always good to test this on the girls. Make sure before you sew it up that the elastic fits. Remember, it'll stretch a little when it's sewed, but depending on the elastic, not a lot. So we'll want to cross that over. Go to the back here. Pin it into place. Fold that in half. Fold this in half and line it up. If you're not comfortable doing it freehand, feel free to put a pin in it, put a mark in it. Just make sure you're not marking through to the side that people will see. And then stretch that out. I hold it down as I walk my fingers in. Another alternative is you could have somebody else help hold it for you. That's always an option. So here's this part. There you go. Now we're going to switch to the sewing machine real quick, and then you'll get to see the rest. Okay, so now comes the sewing part. I put a cream thread in just so that you can see the stitching as it goes. So it's a contrast color, but I suggest you use a matching color. I've set it on zigzag, a nice wide stitch, so when it stretches. If you have a stretch stitch, that is even better. So the first thing I'm going to do is start in the back where the seams overlap. I'm going to go ahead and take that pin out, put it down in here, and we're going to go up and down. Secure that elastic so it doesn't open up. And then we're going to pull that out, throw the threads away, and then we're going to have it go right on the edge here. Make sure you catch the elastic and the Lycra. So now I'm going to stretch it just slightly taut, but I'm going to let the machine pull it through. By doing that, and then before I get to this needle, if you don't have a machine that skips over, make sure and pull those needles out. Same thing. See, if I did this, the elastic would gather up and then you'd have a bunch here. So you want to make sure and pull it taut, but let the machine do the work. Never stretch it while the needle's down. And there we go. And then do the same thing. Make sure getting front and back lining. And go. Now we got to the last needle. And make sure you're catching all the pieces. And right over that. Okay. Now you're going to trim all of that. I'm going to go ahead and take this out so you can really see what we're doing here. Now, if you have this option, it's a good one to do. You can turn it this way so you can make sure it's exactly where it should be. But if you don't have that option, it'll be easier to turn it inside out. So for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and turn it inside out. I'm going to put this down. I want to make sure and catch all the elastic and everything. Okay, so I'm going to hold it taut. You want to be careful this doesn't fold up like this. Oh, in case you can't see it, you want to be careful this doesn't fold like that. You want to make sure and pull it taut and use your fingers and push it down as you're sewing. I use this hand to kind of guide this part down a little, but you don't want to pull too hard, just taut. And then just stretch it as you go, because you want to make sure when you stretch the item later, it'll stay stretched. And pull it taut, and go. I'm going to get to this end. Sew it, and remember, pull it taut. Use your other hand and the palm to pull it away. And the whole time you're watching this guide here, make sure that that seam stays even. Now the bottom bobbin, I use the darker color, so when it flips over, you'll see a more realistic of what you would see. And when you get to the end, make sure and cross back and forth. Now this is a spot I like to take it and stretch it. I like to make sure that when I pull it, you don't snap anything, because if you do, this is the spot to correct it in. So here is our crop top. And then you're going to do the same thing with the briefs. Just use the same thing. Now remember, you want to pull the elastic taut when you're sewing it. Let's go ahead and sew it up real quick. I've already sewn the back part. Let's go ahead and do the briefs real quick. Watch your fingers with those needles. Pull it taut, make sure you got front and back. And keep going. Want to make sure and catch all pieces. If you see it move, catch it now. And then let's get the last one. Pull it taut, keep it at the edge. Make sure that elastic, now right here I kind of went over a little. It's not right at the edge, but we'll catch it. The most important for that being even is when you do the back side. So when you do this part. And then remember, that's going to be sloppy. You want to push it down, roll it with your fingers, and pull it taut. Now you'll make sure and catch that edge. Keep it at the same distance all the way around. Pull that taut and pull the elastic taut. Never pull it when the needle's down. You'll break a needle. I'm going to go ahead and cut this tag out because we don't need that right now. And it'll just get in the way. So pull it taut and keep going. I'm keeping it nice and even. Now this is where I went off a little in my stitching sewing the elastic on, but nobody's going to see that part. And keep going. If you find a mistake that will make a difference in the finished product, do it before, fix it before you get to this part. And back it up. So there you can see the inside, there you see the outside. And now you've got yourself a pair of high-waisted briefs and a crop top. Thank you for watching our video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure and click here to subscribe because we're going to have some amazing DIY videos coming out. And if you want to get our free complete dance costume DIY guide, click right here or go to bdancewear.com/DIY guide. And lastly, if you have any questions or ideas for future videos, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks again for watching our video. And remember, be original, be colorful, bdancewear.com.